All right, let's jump right into this explainer. If you're in B2B sales right now, you know it can feel like absolute chaos. Fast-moving tech, constant product launches, unforgiving economies, it's a lot, right? Well, today we're unpacking the definitive playbook of Airton. He's the current CEO of SalesOutcomes and a legendary former global chief revenue officer for absolute giants like HP and Ryder systems. This is a guy who has successfully scaled teams through severe economic shifts and just intense competitive pressure. So we're going to distill his decades of experience into actionable strategies. We want to help you build a sales team that doesn't just perform when times are easy, but actually steps up and dominates when everything is stacked against them. To pull out the absolute best of Ayrton's frameworks, we've broken this explainer down into 5 distinct plays. 1. The foundation of team success. 2. Escaping the short-term trap. 3. Tapping your internal gold mine. 4. Mindset and morale. And finally 5. Doing the impossible.
Let's kick things off with play number 1, the foundation of success, or as we like to call it, the 1-2-3 rule.
So the absolute bedrock of any high-performing team really comes down to this strict 1-2-3 sequencing. First things first, you've got to be incredibly clear on your mission. Are we talking a revenue goal, a market share target? Whatever it is, that mission absolutely dictates your strategy. And only, and I mean only, after your strategy is completely locked in, can that strategy dictate your organizational structure. Airton points out a massive trap here. A lot of sales leaders get this entirely backward. You know the type. They love grabbing a dry erase marker and just going to town drawing org charts on a whiteboard, deciding who reports to who, debating whether to split territories by geography or industry, before they've even nailed down the actual mission. Listen, if you allow people to design the org without a rock-solid understanding of the mission, you end up with every possible messy combination, and that makes consistent global execution pretty much impossible.
To put that into perspective, let's look at ServiceNow between 2016 and 2020. Maria White, who was a former enablement leader over there, highlighted that ServiceNow was actually a sub-$1 billion company that executed this exact 1-2-3 process flawlessly. Step 1, their mission was crystal clear: hit $4 billion by 2020. Step 2, their strategy to make that a reality was to aggressively target the Global 2000. And step 3, they perfectly structured their organization around partner and industry accounts to hit that exact goal. They didn't put the cart before the horse, and because of that discipline, they scaled incredibly fast.
Moving right along to play number 2, escaping the trap and maintaining a long-term vision. Look, there's a massive difference between just rinsing and repeating the same old bad habits every single quarter and actually building a healthy long-term cadence. So many leaders spend literally all their time obsessively reviewing the current quarter's forecast. We're talking daily, weekly, monthly check-ins. But here's the thing. Doing more frequent forecasts doesn't magically make the numbers better. Honestly, it just drives your people nuts. Think about it. If all you talk about is the current quarter, your team naturally learns that the future just doesn't matter. Instead, you've got to find a balanced cadence. Yes, obviously review the forecast, but apply that exact same intensity to looking 2 to 3 quarters ahead at your pipeline. You can't change the reality of your current quarter today, but you absolutely can take action today to change the future. Plus, when you actually look ahead, you suddenly have the bandwidth to integrate some really deep competitor analysis into your strategy.
Which naturally brings us to play number 3, tapping your internal gold mine. Empower your troops.
So, what happens when you do that competitive analysis and realize, uh-oh, a fierce new competitor just dropped into our region? Airton is adamant about this. The most underestimated weapon you have to combat these sudden market threats is your own people. When some aggressive new ankle-biter organization starts chipping away at your market share, do not sit around waiting for a miracle solution from a small room of senior executives. The reps right there in the trenches, they already have down-to-earth, highly tactical solutions. You literally just have to ask them. Furthermore, you have to actively share these cross-regional best practices. If your team in Asia Pacific is absolutely crushing a competitor that Europe is currently struggling with, connect those teams. Fostering that kind of environment builds an incredibly cohesive global community. So ask yourself right now, are you actively connecting your successful regions with your struggling ones? All right, play number 4, mastering mindset and morale, focusing on the psychology of sales.
You know, we should honestly never underestimate the power of non-financial recognition. Because how do you actually keep motivation high when the economy is in the tank and the odds just feel totally insurmountable? While compensation is obviously a huge factor, Airton really emphasizes the profound psychological impact of visibility. He shared this fantastic story about spotting a highly successful deal closed by a rep way down in Australia. Instead of just sending a good job email, Airton invited that sales leader to present their winning strategy on a global video conference to the rest of the world. Think about the dual impact of that for a second. It immensely rewarded and validated the rep from Australia, sure, but it also proved to the rest of the globally struggling team that, hey, winning is still absolutely possible. It builds this amazing environment of trust and proves that leadership believes current challenges are just a temporary bump in the road.
And finally, we arrive at play number 5, doing the impossible. HP versus IBM mainframes.
Picture this. It's the late 90s, and HP makes this incredibly bold decision to attack the seemingly untouchable IBM mainframe market using open systems. Keep in mind, this was the very early foundation of what we now just call the cloud. But the initial reaction from HP's own sellers, it was pure panic. They looked at IBM's massive proprietary stronghold and literally said, "Are you crazy? IBM is an elephant and we are an ant. We are going to get squashed." So how on earth did they actually pull it off? Well, it was a grueling 3-year journey. In year 1, they established that crystal clear mission we talked about, despite the heavy initial doubts. Actually, Airton confessed that at the very beginning, even he had his own personal doubts about taking on IBM. But as a leader, you absolutely have to project trust in your strategy. By year 2, they didn't just blindly attack. They started zooming in on very specific clients where they knew IBM was weak. They shared those trench-level victories globally and built confidence deal by single deal. By year 3, they had completely transformed an impossible David versus Goliath mission into an undeniable, market-shifting victory for client-server architecture. They relied on their mission, their field intelligence, and their team morale to literally rewrite the tech landscape.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a pretty tough question to chew on. Are you truly leading your team's strategy into the future, or are you just managing your current anxiety? Really think about that. Short-term forecast obsession versus actual long-term pipeline building. Think about whether you are giving your team a definitive mission before you start rearranging their structure. As you reflect on Airton's playbook, keep this final thought in mind regarding your own legacy as a leader. The answers to your toughest market challenges are more than likely already inside your building. Your job isn't to magically invent the miracle. Your job is to set the mission, structure for success, and give your team the confidence they need to execute. So, what's your next play going to be?